Let's make sure we do not miss the opportunity. And we are going to welcome him in our own special way that says, Africa Rising, Farming Future.
Good morning, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I've been, yesterday and today, I've just been in too many meetings that I don't even know whether I'm existing in this world anymore or somewhere else. And we are sorry we came in late because there was a very serious meeting that we had to attend. And that will be on some of the issues that I'll be talking about today. But before I decided to write my speech this time because my brain is tired of lots of meetings. I woke up 4 a.m. today and I've just been busy with one or two things. But if I go to my speech proper, I want to emphasize the issue of medicinal plants and give you the understanding that you have all of those things in your cupboard. If you were in the last conference in our pioneer, I shared a testimony about me. And if I didn't think back to where I'm coming from, how I grew up, I believe either I would have been dead or maybe they would have brought me into this world if I was to participate in this, which was impossible, on a wheelchair. Why? Because the best part of my life I spent in the Netherlands. And about 8 years ago, it should be more than 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, which was called dermatomyositis. So it was like your immune system is destroying your body. So my immune system was so strong that it was destroying all my muscles. So I was so weak that I could not hold my phone on a call, because if I hold it like this, it falls. If I fell down, I cannot wake up, cannot rise up because my muscles were destroyed. So they had to pick me up. I remember one time when I was coming from the hospital, I fell around the bus station and nobody to help me. So but you had this crowd running towards me and they're like, "Sir, what is happening?" I said, "Well, I'm just coming from the hospital, just help pick me up." So they picked me up and I could manage and, I got home. But what was the only treatment? After being in all the machines in Europe, my insurance has spent lots and lots of hundreds of thousands of euros for my treatment. The doctors only came back to me with all the diagnoses to say there is no cure for that illness. And the only thing we can do is we can be giving you serious painkillers because I was on constant serious pain. Serious painkillers and steroids. That's the only thing that we can do for you. But I sat. I remember where I come from. This beautiful continent, Africa. And I remember seeing my grandfather heal people just with 3 herbs, no matter what the condition was. And I said, but he's sleeping, so it's going to help him. And I remember one Sunday morning after my meditations, we are very spiritual. As the priest said, I'm a priest too. I heard a voice. But before I heard that voice, I was put into a deep sleep. And I was shown a vision. And after that vision, I got a voice that said, everything that man needs comes from the soil. And so I was so tired, and having that conversation with that voice. I said, but just tell me, just give me the solution. And it was like that voice just laughed. It's like laughed at me, this helpless guy lying in his bed. So I managed, I woke up, went downstairs to my office at home, and I sat there and I started researching on everything that comes from the soil. So I could study my symptoms. I would go to study plants, seeds, herbs, oils, and everything that can do anything to help me. To cut a long story short, after doing that for about 3 weeks, I came to a conclusion with a solution. It was a drink that I had to take first. I had to do master detox of my system, because after my own research I realized that my body was like a computer that has been attacked by a virus. And now the motherboard cannot operate. But how do you do that? You have to format your body. And the question was, if they can format the computer and then you install new softwares, how do you format your body and then install give it the right nutrients to be able to heal itself? So that was my challenge. The good thing was my brain was still working, but my body was weak. And I knew that the first thing to format it was to do what? The master detox. Detox my body to take care of everything that was in it. And then I started feeding it with the right nutrients. So I started doing that. I was going to the hospital every week to give blood so that they can test. So but after I started doing that procedure, after 2 weeks, they said, you see a bit of change in your blood. After 3 months, there is more change. 1 year, they said, what is going on? I said, no, don't worry. I'm just taking the steroids. Then they started now weaning me from the steroids gradually. They started reducing it because they said, if we just take you out of it, then you're going to have a shock, then you're going to die. 2 years. I said, but the doctors were saying, you're becoming normal again. And 3 years, no, you don't need to give blood again. Maybe just go after 6 months, then you come and give blood, we'll check you. 6 months I came. They said, okay, just take a form, go and keep it in your cupboard. If there is relapse, because everything is normal now. If there's any relapse, then you can just come with that form, rush to the hospital, and they can do some tests, and then we see where we can start to treat you. But it's 8 years today. And I'm standing. I can run again. I can hold my tablet. But I did all of that. So what Mom was saying here is very, very important. I was not prepared to say this, but because of what I heard from the princess, what Mom said, I said, it's good at telling my story. The people who saw me went through all of this. They said, no, you need to go to the world and be talking, and create a platform and talk to people. I said, no, God is going to give me that platform. Because I'm not going to use this for money. I'm going to use it to help other people. So if you know somebody with dermatomyositis, that scared him when the doctors say that, just bring the person to me. Let's sort this out. And I believe that is what really changed my life, changed my mission in life, and I chose to say I'm coming back home, coming back to Africa. I could not go to home because there are other things I'm engaged with, because I like to fight for the rights of people. And because of my fight for the rights of our people, that's what kept me in exile for a very long time, the best part of my life. But I'm coming back to Africa. I don't care wherever in Africa I'm home. And the things that I have to do them. And I believe that is why God led me to meet Mabel and to today we have to do the things that we have to do for our continent. So distinguished guests, esteemed researchers, farmers, entrepreneurs, students, traditional healers, policy makers, and partners in development. Good afternoon to you all once more. Let me correct myself, right? It's both an honor and a privilege to stand before you today at this important conference on medicinal plants, food security, and the future of agriculture in Africa. I want to thank Mabel and her team for organizing this conference. We gather here at a defining moment in history, a time when the world faces growing food insecurity, climate change, rising health care costs, unemployment, environmental degradation, and increasing dependence on imported food and medicines. Yet, within these challenges lies Africa's greatest opportunities. Africa is richly blessed with fertile land, abundant sunlight, biodiversity, indigenous medicinal plants, and ancestral agricultural knowledge that has sustained our communities for generations. However, despite these enormous blessings, African countries collectively spend more than $80 billion annually importing food. Africa spends $17 to $18 billion annually to import medication. Our continent relies heavily on external suppliers for medicine. If urgent action is not taken, these figures are expected to rise significantly in the coming years. This is not because Africa lacks the ability to feed or treat herself. It is because we have not yet fully industrialized integrated farming, agro-processing, value addition, storage systems, logistics networks, and export mechanism at the scale required to transform our economies. For too long, Africa has exported raw materials while importing finished goods at far greater cost. We export crops and import processed food. We export medicinal plants and import what? Pharmaceuticals. We export opportunities and import dependencies. This must change. The future of Africa depends on partnership that connects agriculture, science, indigenous knowledge, technology, education, processing industries, and global markets. This is why we are in partnership with the University of Johannesburg, Lego Tradings, the Will Global, and the community in Marapani. The cooperative represents what? Community empowerment, grassroots participation, and farmer inclusion. Lego Tradings and the Will, alongside with Kadamba, bring commercial vision, industrialization, agro-processing, market access, and global export opportunities. The University of Johannesburg provides scientific leadership in food safety, soil health, water quality, research, innovation, and compliance with international standards. Because if Africa wants to compete globally, our food must not only be abundant, it must be safe, organic, traceable, and produced under the right conditions. This partnership is not merely about farming, It is about building a complete agricultural ecosystem. An ecosystem where agriculture becomes industrialized, where medicinal plants become research products, where farms become centers of innovation and international trade, where rural communities become economic engines, where young people become agricultural entrepreneurs, where women become leaders in processing, manufacturing, and exports. Our farm will therefore serve as a research, training, and trading center for youth, women, students, researchers, and anyone interested in agriculture and medicinal plants. We want to create a living laboratory where African traditional wisdom meets with modern science and innovation. Our vision is clear: to feed Africa organically, to restore dignity to African agriculture, to transform food into health, because our food should be our medicine. But as we speak about food security, we must also speak about seed security. The preservation of indigenous African seed is one of the most important responsibilities of our generation. Seeds are not just agricultural inputs. Seeds are life. Seeds carry our history, our biodiversity, our resilience, and our future. If we lose control of our seeds, we risk losing control of our food systems and ultimately our sovereignty. For generations, African communities preserve seeds adapted to local climates, resistant to drought, rich in nutrition, and connected to our cultural identity. Today, many of these dependencies and the laws of traditional farming practices has caused us to be malnourished and sick. We must therefore establish seed banks, community seeds preservation programs, indigenous plant nurseries, and farmer-led seed exchange system across Africa to protect our biodiversity and for future generations. These seeds we preserve today will determine health, nutrition, and independence of Africa tomorrow. At the same time, food alone is not enough. Africa urgently needs better logistics, distribution systems across the continent. In many parts of Africa, farmers produce food, but that food never reaches the market efficiently. Large quantities are lost after harvest due to poor roads, limited storage facilities, weak cold chain infrastructure, border delays, and fragmented transport systems. While one African country, like South Africa, experiences food shortages, another may have agricultural surpluses, but that cannot be moved efficiently across the borders. This is unacceptable. On a continent so blessed with so much agricultural potential, we therefore need integrated logistic mechanisms across Africa, modern transport corridors, storage hubs, cold chain systems, agro-processing centers, rail networks, digital trading platforms, harmonized trade regulations under the African Continental Free Trade Area. If Africa can improve logistics, we will reduce food waste, stabilize prices, increase exports, create jobs, strengthen food security across the continent. Industrialized, integrated farming must therefore go hand in hand with industrialized logistics systems. Production without distribution creates what? Waste. But production combined with processing, logistics, export creates wealth. This is the transformation Africa needs. Today, through our collaboration with Kadamba Africa Green Nanotechnology, we are also opening a new chapter in medicinal innovation. By combining green nanotechnology, African indigenous medicinal plants and ancestral knowledge system from across the continent, we aim to develop green nano-Ayurvedic medicines that are natural, affordable, sustainable, and accessible to African people. For centuries, African communities understood the healing power of nature. Our medicinal plants, herbs, roots, and natural foods supported healthy communities long before modern pharmaceutical systems emerged. We believe nature still contains solutions that humanity is now rediscovering. However, we must proceed responsibly and scientifically. Research, testing, regulation, and international compliance are essential to ensure safety, effectiveness, and global credibility. That is why partnerships with universities, scientific institutions are so critical. Africa cannot industrialize agriculture without science, and science cannot succeed without communities. Together, we can build value-added industries that process what we grow locally into products of African and international markets. Instead of exporting raw materials or medicinal plants, we must manufacture herbal medicines, nutraceuticals, essential oils, cosmetics, organic foods, and wellness products here in Africa. Instead of exporting jobs, we must create jobs. Instead of exporting food, we must feed ourselves and export surplus to the world. To the youth of Africa, agriculture today is not merely about fields and farming tools. Agriculture is now science, technology, biotechnology, logistics, exports, climate resilience, innovation, and entrepreneurship. The future millionaire may not come from the mine. The future millionaire may come from a seed. To the women of Africa, the backbone of African agriculture and food systems. Your leadership in farming, processing, exports, cooperatives, and research is essential to Africa's transformation. To government and funders like you and investors, support us to bring the change. Support integrated farming, agro-industrialization, seed preservation, logistics, infrastructure, irrigation systems, processing facilities, research partnerships, and export development. We, as Africans, we do not need charity. We need value chain. We need industrialization. We need logistics. And we need seed sovereignty. And Africa needs partnership that is built on trust, knowledge, and shared prosperity. Let us build an Africa where healthy soil produces healthy food, where healthy food produces healthy people, where efficient logistics connect African farmers to African market, where preserved seeds protect future generations, where science and indigenous knowledge work together, and where Africa becomes a global leader in organic agriculture, medicinal innovation, and sustainable development. The time is now. We've taken that first step in Marapane and across South Africa, and the opportunity is now. And together, Through partnership, preservation, innovation, vision, we can feed Africa, heal Africa, and build a prosperous future for generations to come. Thank you.